Hello everybody, welcome to Atlas Tabletop Gaming. Today we are bringing to you a competitive Warhammer 40,000 podcast where myself and two very good friends talk about Aeldari in the tournament scene and how competitive they can be. All three of us have built a 2,000 point list, and we basically spend the next hour or so talking through our lists, why we've chosen the units, and why we think they are good. So please get your snacks, get your beers in while you're painting or whatever you're doing. Listen to the podcast and enjoy it. Thank you. Hello everybody, welcome to Atlas Tabletop Gaming. We are bringing to you today a podcast around competitive 40k. I have two of my very good friends here with me tonight who are going to run through some lists that we've done for Eldar Craftworlds. And what we've done is we've designed all three of us have got a 2,000 point list that we feel is competitive. And what we're going to do for you guys is we're going to break it down from Craftworld attributes to HQs and all that sort of good stuff, and argue with each other which list is better. So who have I got on with me tonight? So I've got Dale.
Hello, how you doing?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm out of my comfort zone. Eldar is not my normal stomping ground, so I've taken some time to read up on it, and I'm well prepared.
Good. What is your main army, if you don't mind me asking?
That's a very good question, because frankly it changes all the time. I suppose at the moment it's probably Guard, because that's the one I've got the most models of, and I've painted some of it. However, I have got a beautiful Thousand Suns army being looked into at the moment, so I think that may be where I end up with for the rest of the night.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Dale. Thanks for coming on. So there's somebody on here that none of you have heard before. You've probably heard him in our WhatsApp chat. Neil, how are you, sir?
Hello. Yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
Dream living, kid. Dream living.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I feel like slightly honoured to be back mingling it amongst you guys again.
Well, so you should be.
All right, mate. Don't push it. I'm being flattering, but don't push it too much, Carl. We don't want to start dipping into Templars on the Craftworlds.
Whoa. Yeah, let's not say things we can't take back, Neil. Neil,
mate.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What sort of 40k are you into?
Yeah, so I've been playing 40k for quite a while, probably since 2nd edition, when I was a young lad, because I am old as Dick. So yeah, started getting into it when I was younger, and then gave up around college, and I got back into it back around 7th edition, and since then really I've been quite firm and quite hard hitting, and been pretty full on with it really, from collecting quite a few armies all the way through to competitive tournament play, all sorts of bits and pieces really, and hanging out with you guys as well at the same time, having decent games. But so yeah, play all sorts. My main army at the moment, I would say, is Raptors, so Raven Guard Successor chapter. I've got a stupidly large Raptors army which I've had commission painted for me, which are about 15,000 points, pretty much all Primaris as well. And other than that, I've got Grey Knights army. Yeah, I do unfortunately have to agree with Karl on some armies, and also a Craftworlds army, which I'm just making at the moment competitively. So this is quite a good chat for me tonight, to be honest.
Sweet, fantastic. It's nice to have you on, Neil, because you do bring a different perspective, because you are probably the most competitive person at 40k I've ever played against. And if anybody ever gets the honour to play Neil at 40k, all I'm going to say is you have to bring your A game, otherwise you're going to get romp stomped, because he is a really good player, and it's nice to have you on, mate. So, yeah. I hope everyone's
That's probably the nicest thing you've said to me in a long, long time as well. I hope you're not expecting me to return the compliment, because I'm going to tear your list to pieces, mate.
See what I mean, guys? He just proved my point right there. So, absolutely. Okay, so what do you want to do then, guys? Shall we... It's 2,000 points. We've all pre-done our list. We've all had a good look at them. We've made a few comments, and there are some similarities, isn't there, with all three of our lists? Would you say that's correct?
I think we cross over more than we don't. There are differences, otherwise it's going to be a really boring podcast. But there's a huge chunk of stuff where both for those of you who are experienced with playing Eldar and me who's not, we've come to really similar conclusions, and that's it shows that there's strength in the codex, but
Yeah.
perhaps it's a little bit worrying for their overall competitiveness.
Yeah, Aeldar do need that 9th edition update, but that'll come. We all know that's going to come. Aeldar have been top tier for so long. Would you say that's correct, Neil?
Yeah, I would definitely say up till 7th. I think 8th and 9th edition they've struggled, to be honest with you. In 8th they weren't too bad. They've probably been sort of top mid-tierish, maybe borderline on it, or in the hands of a good person with mainly probably flyer lists. But then other than that, I think they've struggled. I think because they were so good and probably so OP in 7th, and they were the top army in 7th. As we spoke about beforehand, for the likes of myself, who used to play an Invisible Wraith Knight and scat bikes and hornets and all sorts, they were extremely strong. I think almost GW thought, yeah, we'll leave them alone for an edition or two to obviously bring them down to everyone's level. But I think, 9th edition, when their codex drops, hopefully it'll give them a bit of a boost so they can get back and start giving potentially Marines and Death Guard a bit of a run for their money now.
Yeah, and obviously we're not here to talk about Death Guard or Marines, but Marines have dropped, Necrons have dropped as well. The Codex they're again quite strong. Death Guard, we've all seen the leaks, we've all seen fucking Mortarion, fuck's sake, Jesus Christ,
Scary.
it's very scary, isn't it? And you got to look at those as benchmarks for the rest of the codexes that are coming out in 9th edition. And you are probably right in saying that actually GW at the end of 7th thought, right, we need to cool our jets with Eldar at the moment because they are really strong. And there are some really strong units in their army. They just adjusted the points a little bit going into 8th and 9th, and obviously 9th when it first dropped, the points went up quite dramatically for some units. It is fascinating because Eldar, you'd think 9th edition is all about taking hold, right? Would you agree?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So Eldar are one of the fastest armies. Dark Eldar are the fastest, but Eldar, Harlequins, they're really fast armies.
He had to drop in about Dark Eldar, didn't he? He couldn't leave it alone.
Sorry,
You know what I mean?
sorry.
Carl, for God's sake, stay focused on the point, mate. Stop drifting towards your other little pet projects, all right, mate? Come on.
Yeah, but they're fast. They're actually quite durable if you bring the right units, and so I'm surprised they are struggling in 9th. But I think the reason why they're struggling at 9th in tournaments and getting to those top tiers is because the Marines are there, and Marine players and Marine armies are up there. You get the occasional Tau, I've seen them come top table, but that was a unique list that you won't see, for people using. So it does boggle my brain why they're not doing so well. And I think maybe that Space Marine meta that's out there at the moment is really, really hurting Eldar a little bit. I don't know.
I think what you've coming up against is unfortunately that, from a real basic point, so before you go into the mechanics of how it's working, everything, pure maths, toughness 3 when everything's geared towards killing, toughness 4, and just the lack of high decent saves across the army, whilst they're still priced quite aggressively in terms of you're not getting a huge amount of models on the board. They're still fairly elite. It kind of just, things that are good at killing Marines are outstanding at killing Eldar, and that's what's really hurting them, into my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree totally with what Dale said, to be honest with you. I think when you look at the moment, the vast majority of things is not just how quickly you get across the board, it's how durable you are on top of objectives. The likes of, we've seen Custodes have turned into a very, very high level army because they're so durable. It's so hard to budge Custodes. They've got a decent toughness. All of it's got invuln saves. And then you look at what Eldar can drop on there. I've taken a few units that I potentially might not do in 100% competitive list in mind, but just probably bring them up on here. But I do like. But I mean, if you just take their normal troop choice of Guardians, I mean, a 5-up save with toughness 3 is really flimsy.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's really, they've only got sort of quite a slim pickings on troop choices, and until that probably gets changed, then it gets difficult. So then you're sort of looking at putting heavies and elites on there to hold it. So yeah, I think they're struggling on things unless you can really release their codex in 9th and potentially update their stratagems where you can start boosting these, or potentially sort of edit saving throws or toughness slightly. But
Yeah.
ultimately, they are space pixies, so they're probably going to die quite quickly.
Uh, this is it, but if you look at Aeldari, they've got 4 troop choices. 2 are basically the same with Guardians and Storm Guardians. They're effectively the same. You've got Die Avengers and Rangers. You don't see Ranger lists anymore. But then I'm harking back to my 3rd edition, 4th edition LA Top Pathfinder
They
sort
got
of list.
nerfed though a little while ago,
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah,
Rangers, they
yeah.
got hit quite hard with quite a few of their buffs, so they're nowhere near as effective now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we've rambled on enough. Shall we talk about our lists, or do you want to ramble on a little bit more?
No, let's get going. Let's get
Let's
going.
let's
Let's
get going.
start on.
Okay.
Let's start on that.
Okay, so we've all made a 2,000 point list. And again, there are some similarities. What we'll do is we'll go through Craftworld attributes each, and then we'll go down to HQ and maybe explain why you've picked those Craftworld attributes as well. So if I go first, and I think when you run down the list, it becomes more apparent why you've chosen those attributes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for mine then, I was going to go Baltan, but I changed it. I went for a custom attribute from Psychic Awakening. And what I did is I went for Hail of Doom. So basically all that is any shuriken weapons that are within 12 inches of an enemy model or below get -1 AP on all their shuriken weapons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
And then I went for Superior Shurikens, which is basically adding 4 inches to the range of all my shuriken weapons. Because I think the reason why I went for those is that there's loads of shuriken weapons in my army. So I needed to make them better, because I think that's where, from my point of view, Aeldari lack. Shuriken cannons are absolutely incredible gun. You get 3 shots, strength 6, no AP, 1 damage. They should be at least 1 AP straight away, because they're a cannon. They should have an AP built in.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a little bit where Aeldari are struggling with their basic weapons, don't have any built in. You can roll 6s to wound, which makes them AP free, which again is really like the old rendering you had on the soak cannons and all the shuriken weapons before. But something needs to be built in with Aeldari to make them that little bit more powerful. You never know what the new codex is. So those are my attributes. What do you reckon, guys?
I mean, I understand why you've gone for them. I don't. Unfortunately, I just don't think the units carrying Shuriken are going to show up everywhere in this list. You've kind of got quite a mono theme you've gone for there, and it could work. It could absolutely work, but I don't think it's the strongest combo you could have taken.
Okay.
I sort of get it, and you see it a lot more now with custom craft worlds. They are pretty much the way forward, because you can obviously, like you said, customize them towards your lists, and more specifically, rather than the generic craft world attributes. I can see why you've done it to a certain extent. It's just like you said, for me, again, harping on about Marines and the basic bolter and storm bolter. Now, once they brought in bolter discipline, their standard troops and what they can output compared to, again, what Eldar output. I mean, me personally, I'm not a real fan of shuriken cannons and shuriken catapults, because I just think unless you're rolling hot and you keep hitting 6s, then the vast majority of the time, I just don't think they're doing the damage, to be honest with you. But again, probably something that you hope potentially might get edited or upgraded to a certain extent in the next codex drop. But for you personally, if it suits your list, then I can understand why you took it, to be honest with you. And like I said, I think custom craft worlds are generally a lot easier to drop in, especially to customize around your actual list.
Yeah, no, sweet. Dale, what have you gone for yours?
So I've also gone for a custom craft world, and I think that's the East looking like it's the strongest place to go. I've gone for having read up on it. So as I said, I'm not a craft world player. I've gone for what showed up in quite a few tournament winning lists, or doing very well in tournament lists towards the back end of 8th edition. Okay, so I've gone for expert crafters. So when a unit with this attribute fires Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight with, you can re-roll a single hit roll and you can re-roll a single wound roll. So particularly impactful on smaller units, going to be more important on things like particularly on the vehicles. I think that's going to be useful. I've also gone for masterful shots. So when resolving an attack made by a model with this attribute, the target does not receive the benefit of cover to its saving throw. Reason I've gone for that one, once again, it showed up in quite a lot of net lists and everything else, but with the increasing amount of terrain you should be playing with in ninth. Cover throws are more common than ever. So actually being able to negate at least the saving throw portion of that, I feel is really impactful.
Yeah, no, that's seems solid, and you're right, because the cover thing is a big thing in ninth, isn't it? And being able to remove that, like you said, is fantastic. And the expert crafters, it's kind of like salamanders, isn't it? In a little bit of sort of you can reroll 1 wound, and that could actually make a difference, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those things. So because it's per unit, it will benefit smaller units more, which kind of filters into some of the decisions I made later on as well. Just in terms of particularly my troop choices, we'll go through when we get there. But that was kind of my thinking on that one.
To be honest with you, I think Dale's there's the strongest so far without saying it. And I think, to be honest with it, it's what I looked at, and it's generally what I would say I normally take with a list, to be honest with you, because I think it's, like he said, and Dale said it himself, he's seen it pop up quite a lot in tournament level lists. I think it benefits and gives you the most benefit and suits ninth edition, not necessarily Eldar as such, but like you said, with terrain and things like that, I think it's a very, very good one. It's not what I've gone for, weirdly, like I said, praising it all that much, but no, I generally think I think it's a strong Craftworld attribute, to be honest with you, very strong.
Okay. So Neil, what did you go for?
Ulthway.
Oh, okay.
In a time, like I said, where I think ninth edition is about speed, it's about objective holding. But like I said, I think you understate durability. You'll see later on with my list, I think when you have numbers on the board, having that Ulthway role is strong. It really is, to be honest with you. I feel everything's a D6 each time an attribute loses a wound on a 6 is ignored. That's big. I've used it quite a few times in the past, and it's pretty much the only time I roll 6s, and it generally sends. Yeah, it's generally sends. There's nothing worse though, is there, when you've got blobs of guardians down there, and you start deleting them through, and all of a sudden you just roll 6s and says, actually no, they're not going anywhere, they're staying there. It just adds that level and depth for me of being able to say, no, that wound's gone. I've got that 6 up. Feel no pain. I'm just going to sit there and shrug it and get rid of it all. So for me, I think more than anything else, I was dabbling between what Dale is using, his custom Craftworld, and Ulthway myself. But because you'll see later on with my list, I think the Ulthway save just potentially gives you that extra level of durability, which for me, my list, I think is a little bit key, to be honest.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. And Ulthway is pretty strong. I mean, 6s, you are more disgustingly resilient than Death Guard at the moment because they've lost their feel no pain. But that's another thing for another time. But yeah, no, Ulthway is a solid choice, and it does sort of lend itself to certain things that Ulthway would always take as well. So we will go into that in a sec. What do you reckon, Dale?
No, I like Ulthway. To be fair, I did play around with it. Once again, I'm no expert on there, but as I understand it, they've got a couple of key stratagems that are specifically for them that it's going to really help with. I think you'd be playing a more psychic game than you would be with my list. But that plays to Eldar's strength, doesn't it? So my only fear with going real psychic is giving up Abhor the Witch too easily as a secondary. But as long as you're aware of it and play around it, you're not carrying too many psychics, hopefully.
But they've changed it, haven't they, in the recent FAQ? It's not as many victory points if you kill a psycho.
It's not as bad as it was. No, it's not as bad as it was. That's why you can bring Grey Knights again, Carl.
You can bring Grey Knights anyway, Dale. They're really good.
Dale, leave it. It's the one army I have to agree on Carl with. So can we just leave that one alone, please?
You're outnumbered
for a change. Let's just carry on ripping into Templars or Dark Eldar and the other chaff that Carl plays, but let's just leave Grey Knights alone. I mean, Black Templars aren't even a real chapter, God's sake.
No, darn tootin', they don't follow the codex. Of course they're not a real chapter.
Dale said it perfectly before the podcast. They're basically like Space Marine orcs. They're just brainless idiots who go stomping around the table.
Let's not say stuff you can't take back, Neil. You know what I'm saying?
Let's be honest, Carl. If you could wear power armor, that's you. Absolutely. Smashing around, walking into walls, that's you.
Yeah, his beard sticking out underneath his helmet still. A massive sword on his back that he doesn't really know what he's doing with. He just wants to shout at people and swing objects around. It's pretty much Karl.
Oh, I love you guys. Go fuck yourselves. Anyway. Okay, so let's go on to HQ. So I think, again, there's a running theme of the HQs that we've chosen. So I've basically gone for a Farseer on a Skyrunner, just so he can keep up with the rest of my army. And he's my Warlord. I've given him the Warlord trait that adds 2 to his movement.
Okay.
So he's a little bit faster to keep up with another unit in my army that's ridiculously fast. And he's obviously, I've given him the Phoenix Gem, which is a relic, which basically... No, wait, that's not right, is it? Jesus Christ. What relic did I give him? I can't remember what relic. Where's the relic?
Oh dear, this awkward moment in the middle of the podcast
shit.
where people can't read Battle Scribe.
I can delete anything. I can edit it out, boys. It's fine.
Unbelievable, Jeff. If you edit this part out, I will expose you as a fraud.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go into comments.
Wankers. I actually don't think I've put a relic on him.
Unbelievable.
So...
He hasn't given a relic to his Warlord.
I was right. Shut up. I was right. The Phoenix Gem. I thought it was on about a Ghost Helmet because they're very, very similar wordings. So basically, on a roll of 2 or more, a unit within 3 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. At least 1 mortal wound is inflicted as a result of this. The model is not slain but remains in play with a single wound remaining. If no mortal wounds are inflicted, the model is slain. So it's kind of like a fucking, I'm going to try and survive if I die, if somebody eventually gets me into combat. Which is quite good. I've given him psychic powers of Doom and Guide. So if you don't know what Doom is, basically I can reroll failed wounds against an enemy within 24 inches that I've picked. And Guide is basically I can reroll failed hits for a unit within 24 inches until my next psychic phase. He comes with, I've put him on a bike. Now this is an odd one, and we're discussing. So normal jet bikes in the Eldar army can have shuriken catapults, shuriken cannons and scatter lasers. So if the rest of the sort of master at arms can put them on, or the designers can put them on other jet bikes, why aren't they on the Farseers and Warlocks ones?
Don't know, mate. Don't know. It's another glitch where you look at it and just think about yourself at GW like, yeah, why? You know what I mean? I totally agree, to be honest with you. But then you could turn around and say, how's this flimsy guy on basically a moped jet bike got a 4-up invuln save, but a Wraith Knight hasn't got any?
And we can definitely pick apart those sort of bits and pieces. So I forgot to mention, I'm running a patrol detachment rather than a battalion or a vanguard. It's a patrol detachment as well. So I only require 1 HQ in my list, and I've only gone.
You're so controversial.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've only gone for 1 HQ, which is my Farseer. Dale.
So I've gone for a Farseer on a Skyrunner as well, and he's my Warlord. I've also gone for a Warlock on Skyrunner, just a absolute classic combo. Warlock trait for the Farseer. I've gone for the Seer of the Shifting Vectors, one reroll of a hit, wound, save, or psychic test, or deny per battle round. Real straightforward. It's to me easily the best one. I've read up on it. I've also gone for the Phoenix Gem on him as well, though, as his relic, just to get that extra little bit of movement on him. That extra little bit of survivability on him, same as you do, Karl.
Yes. Okay. See, guys, similarities. Neil.
Exactly the same as Dale. So I'm running a battalion. So I've taken the 2 HQ slots: Farseer Skyrunner, Warlock Skyrunner. Seer of the Shifting Vector. I totally agree with what Dale said there. For me, it's the best trait, to be honest with you. That once about around to be able to re-roll a single hit roll, warm roll save, or a psychic test on either, which I think that's to have that ability is absolutely fantastic. Phoenix Gem again, agree with what Dale said there. It's that durability level again. Once again, I've gone for exactly the same sort of psychic powers I think as you did, Karl. So Guide and Doom, they're 2 for me absolutely essential powers, because for Eldar Craftsworld, they are pretty much absolutely ruthless. I think that's probably one of the areas where Craftsworld haven't dropped into a bottom tier list is purely because their psychic abilities and their powers, if cast with their right units, they become so potent. And those two powers, Guide and Doom, are pretty much do two key, if not two of the key powers as well. And then my Warlock Skyrunner, I'm running with Protector Jinx, because I just think having that ability, mainly Jinx. So if anyone doesn't know what it is, choose an enemy unit with an 18 inch of Psyker. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all saving throw rolls made for that unit against attacks made by Asuyan units from your army until the start of your next psychic phase. So I think added Jinx onto it as well. So if you can almost hammer a unit that you really want to delete with Guide Doom and then Jinx, you really have given them a headache and a bad day in the office, to be honest with you. So yeah, they're my 2 HQ slots. Like Dale said, pretty much standard almost 2 runs. I did, being off way, almost contemplate running Eldrad because he is an absolute psychic monster.
Yes.
He does buff a lot of powers and he does have the output, especially with a couple of strats where you can almost just get him casting everything and really hammering people. But again, thinking on the competitive spectrum, the points value, I mean, I think Eldrad's almost 100 points or 90 or points more than the Warlock Skyrunner. That, with a couple of savings elsewhere, saved me to buy another squad that was essential on my list elsewhere. So for the fact that the Skyrunners as well, being on the jet bikes and having that advance auto answer 6 inches, you've got 22-inch movement for them.
Yep.
They can pretty much nip on an objective, hold it if you need to. They can carry out an action. It's having that manoeuvrability around the board, whereas Eldrad's a bit of a backfield clanger, really, isn't he? Just sits there and shunts powers off wherever he needs to.
What we said earlier as well, with Elder being extremely mobile, you want your HQs to be that extremely mobile as well. And if you've got some guy foot slogging and the rest of your army is in transports or vehicles and they're flying up the field, you got this one guy at the back going, where the fuck is everyone? Ah, fucking... Yeah, and
yeah, no, 100%.
Do you want to know a really interesting fact? So the 3 of us, we had no sort of input in how each other created their list, correct?
Yep.
So we all picked very, very similar relics. Apart from me, I picked a different warlord trait.
Has to be different.
Have to be different. We all picked a Psyker on a bike. Do you know how many HQ choices are in the Elder Codex?
Quite a few.
20. There are 20 HQ choices in an Elder Codex, 13 pages, and 3 blokes randomly picked the same things.
Yeah, but I hate to say it, most of the others, you know, let's get into it a little bit. Most of the others are pretty poor. Like,
yeah, they are pretty sharp.
Absolute rubbish in there. There really is.
If you look at the Autarchs, the sort of the main general of an Elder army, they used to be amazing. You could fully customize them to go. So if you wanted to run a Banshee list, your Autarch could be basically Autarch Banshee. Yeah, do you remember that, Neil? Back in 7th, and you know, if you wanted to run Dire Avengers or Dark Reapers, you could basically customize it. Now you can't. They're stuck to. You get 3 different types. You get an Autarch with swooping hawk wings, and a Skyrunner. It's a bit. Why not just open it up again? It was fine as it was, and it was quite nice.
They've got a lot of selection and choices, but like you said, I mean, for the points values and what they actually do, I mean, the Aspect Lords, they're really pretty. I mean, I love my Banshees. I've got the new Jane Sar model and I've got new Howling Banshees, mainly because the models are cool as fuck. But the Banshees, we'll get onto them later on, they're not great. But Jane Sar, she's all right. But I mean, you're looking, she's 125 points. Would she give me more than what I can actually do with a Farseer Skyrunner for 10 points more? No, not really. No. He's a lot more, like you said, potent for me to sit there and blast off for psychic spells, to sit there and buff and help the other units that can give a real punch. Whether Jane Sar's just going to be flipping down the board and probably going to get deleted by bolt of gunfire. So yeah, all in all, I just generally think, unless you're doing Ynnari, then obviously that's probably a different subject for a different day than the 3 Ynnari headquarters. One of them's probably completely rubbish, but 2 of them are pretty good. But
it's interesting because as Azuman, the Dire Avenger Phoenix Lord, any Dire Avenger unit within 6 of him gain a 4-up invuln save. And people do bring blobs of those with the Dire Avengers and him, but he's 185 points, I think. So he's fucking expensive, and that's pretty much all he will do. And is that worth the points when you can get that, like you say, you can get that Farseer on the Skyrunner zipping about doing what he can? I know what I would take. It's in my list already, eh?
I think, to be honest with you as well, is that your HQs, you know what you want to go for when you plan a competitive list. You have your style of play, or you have your main army element factor that you do, whether it be a shooting list, a melee list, or alpha strike lists. You know what you're geared up around, and your headquarters are there to aid, affect, and buff it. There's no point in, like you said, having a fast-moving force that can do this, that, and the other, and then half these flipping headquarters choices pay no relevance towards that list whatsoever. So I do think, like you said, some of them are particularly great. Like I said, I did look at Aeldari, and there are a few here, there, and everywhere. But even now, like the general Farseer on just not Skyrunner, why would you pay 115 points for a normal Farseer when for an extra 20 points you can put them on a jet bike?
Yep. Bit more toughness, bit more wound, and he can
And a
keep
lot
up
more,
with...
a lot more speed, and like you said, keeping up your army.
And he can use the stratagem fire and fade as well if he gets into trouble. You think, shit, I'm going to get hurt next turn. And with ninth, the way terrain works, you can put him behind terrain after fire popping out, doing what he's got to do, and pop back in if you need to. There's always that option. You think, shit, maybe next turn he's in trouble. I need to try and help him out as much as I can. Okay, so everybody happy with HQs?
Yep, settled.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Dale, what detachment type are you taking?
Mine's a battalion as well. And
Neil's a battalion as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll discuss troops next, and we'll include transportation with that as well. What do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
Yep, because predominantly that's probably what you're doing with transportation anyway. So, okay, so if I go first then, I have taken 3 units of Dire Avengers, 10 in a unit, all 3 with an Exarch. Nothing special on the Exarch, it just comes with the Avenger Shuriken Catapult. And they're all in Wave Serpents, with the usual shenanigans that a Wave Serpent has, but with 3 Shuriken Cannons rather than any sort of heavy special weapons. And pretty much that is it. I do like a Dire Avenger, because they are... they are... What?
I do like a Dire Avenger.
personal favourite.
Just imagine Carl going to bed every night with his own personal little Dire Avenger that sits on his bedside table. You have a good night's sleep there, Dire Avenger.
Hey, look, Bandai, make a Dire Avenger model and I will buy one. You know what I'm saying? That dolly will be in my bed. But it's a bit weird. I do like them because their Shuriken Cannon catapults have an 18-inch range. They all have plasma grenades. They have a 4-up save. They are hampered by toughness, but so is every other Aeldari unit. They have battle focus. They have movement 7. And again, with the Wave Serpents, I think that and again, this is a repeating in all our lists, they are still an extremely potent unit. So, yeah, that's it, guys. What do you think?
Crap.
I didn't even say it. Go on.
I just think obviously, for the extra points that you get with Dire Avengers, what are you actually getting more? So, an extra +1 to their save throw and +1 to their leadership.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But, if you look at a Dire Avenger unit, I think Guardians, 100 points? Dire Avengers are 110. So for that extra 10 points...
I don't know what you're playing. I don't know if our battle scribes are different. Dale, what's your troop choice, just out of interest, and your points that you've got for them?
So I've gone for 2 units of Dire Avengers at 5 points each, including an Exarch, and they're 65 points. My math says they should be 130, Carl, for 2 units, for a unit of 10.
Okay.
And Guardian Defenders, 100 points for a unit of 10, as long as you're not taking a heavy weapon platform. So that's what I've gone for. I've gone for 2 units of Dire Avengers, minimum squad size, and I've gone for 2 units of Guardians, just separate to it. They're going into Wave Serpents, very much move forward, take and hold. I'm going to use the extra range on the Dire Defenders as kind of my second wave of the attack, making use of their higher movement speed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty
My
much. I mean, I don't think there's going to be much difference. I mean, even mine, I've got 3 troop choices, 3 units of 10 guardians, and then I've got 3 wave serpents. If you're not taking, in my eyes, if you're not taking 3 or maxing out wave serpents in this list, you're probably on drugs slightly, potentially meth, maybe crack, if that's what floats your boat.
meth isn't an
Um,
English drug. It's not over here yet. It's ketamine these
uh,
boys are on, isn't it? It's ketamine.
is it?
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm out of touch with the kids. That's the thing. I need them. But yeah, so I think, to be honest with you, I mean, we've all seen Defender spam, potentially
Yeah.
Guardian Defender spam lists. They work, and I just think more than anything else, Wave Serpents for me. I had to take 3 of them because they are single the best. I would say, controversially, I think they might be Eldar's best unit. Um, yeah, they're just incredible.
Wave
And
serpents, yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
they're
Yeah,
absolutely
completely
brilliant.
agree. They
Yeah.
do exactly what they say on the tin. They get your troops or get your units where they need to go. They're very hard to kill. You can put bright lances on them, so they could be an anti-tank unit or an anti-infantry unit. The sort of the shield that they have as well is incredible. You can
Serpent
fire it off.
Shield.
Yeah, you can do that. You can use it, and then you can use the stratagem for 1 command point to use it again,
Again,
which
yeah.
is really strong. You can pull it in the web way, so you can deep strike it if you want to be so inclined to. Yeah,
Just out of interest, what
go.
were people's weapon choices on their serpents as well? Because we didn't really touch into that. Dal, what are you taking as your weapon
I,
choices on them?
I kept mine very basic, and I know that's not the optimum way of doing it, but it's because I wanted to play this a slightly different way. So it's literally twin catapult and twin cannon.
Okay.
The weapons on both of them.
Again, though,
Carl, what have
that's
you gone for?
I've gone for three cannons on each.
Okay. You see, that's the thing. So I've got obviously 3, the Wave Serpents. So I've got, I think did I have it with 2? Yeah, so I've done 2 with the twin Bright Lances. Like you said, the anti-tank in 9th at the moment. I think anti-tank is pretty essential. I'm running in, and for quite a few games that I have played in 9th, having the anti-tank, to be honest with you, at the moment has won me games on pretty much any army or list I've ever played. And I think, to be honest with you, on this, that's why I went key on it. And then on the 3rd wave Serpent, I've gone for the twin star cannons, just because it's potentially just, like I said, in marine heavy lists at the moment that are
Yeah,
everywhere, having the heavy 4 strength 6 -3 D3, it's more of a Primaris marine killing basically object. But all 3 serpents are pretty much kitted up to be either anti-tank or anti-primaris marine deletion units, to be honest with you. So I've probably pumped a little bit more money into my wave serpents, but like I said, it's just a standard 3 guardian units for mine that can just
yeah,
either be humped up the board on the wave serpents and dropped on objectives, and then, like I said, play a few strats to dig them in a little bit, and then with my Orthway saves, that's the other reasoning for taking that Craftworld attribute, that obviously that 6 up on all those troops as well. You're bound to roll on quite a few of them to
yeah,
save a
yeah.
couple of them anyway.
Did you guys pick any sort of war gear for your wave serpents?
No, because it was really expensive.
Uh,
That was my
Crystal
first thing I
targeting
noticed.
matrix.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, did you go for crystal, CTM? I've gone for CTM on all 3 of mine, and a spirit stone on 2 of them because that's all I had the points for. So if you guys don't know, crystal targeting matrix, basically, if you it allows your heavy weapons to become assault weapons. Um, so if you advance, they're assault weapons, so you can still shoot them
If
at
it's their
-1.
advance, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's actually really strong,
Mm.
especially if you want to go where you want to go with them and get them into position early on and have that board control if you get turn 1.
Mhm.
It really helps. And then spirit stones, if you don't know what they are, basically is a 6 up feel no pain on your tank. Again, a little bit extra survivability, because your wave serpents, 9 times out of 10, whenever I've played with my Elder, the things that are alive at the end are my wave serpents.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you just know, because they're so bloody hard to kill. Just making that, putting a little bit more points into them. I like the weapons the way I like them. I like 9 strength 6 shots, just to take away some infantry, and I feel it really applies on the pressure. My anti-tank's elsewhere in my army, but yeah. So guys, troops very very similar, especially with the transportation. I think if you're not taking wave serpents in a competitive Elder list, you're doing something wrong, and that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think about that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you. Like I said, the only difference, I haven't taken Spirit Stones because, again, I've got the Authorway save, so you can't stack it. So there's no point. It'd be 10 points wasted on each of my
Yeah, of course.
Wave Serpent. So, but yeah, like I said, I've tanked mine right up, to be honest with you, because, like Carl said, they're the star performers generally in every single game. They'll always be there. They're so durable.
Yeah.
So bang anti-tank on them and just let them transport things, fly around the board, and potentially destroy things as well when they team up with each other. But yeah,
I think
brilliant unit.
it's wise to say that back in 7th they were better and they're really good now. So because you used to be able to fire the Serpent Shield off every turn, wasn't it? It was like a Strength 7, 2d6 shot weapon.
Yeah. Used to upset a lot of people, to be honest with you. Yeah, really did.
It was ridiculously good, and the way it is now, it's still ridiculously good. So yeah. So shall we move on to elite choices? I haven't got any elite choices in my army. Dale?
So I have gone for, and of course my battle scribe will decide that now is a great time to go for this one. I've gone for no elite choices either.
Oh. So does that mean Neil's the only one with an elite choice?
Of course I am.
Of course I am.
Of course I am. You can pot that elite slot over there, can't you, Neil? Of course I can. Yeah, I've gone for a squad of 5 Wraith Blades.
Okay.
With the Ghost Axe and Full Shields. These guys, for me, are absolutely ruthless. To talk through people who don't have a clue about them, to be honest with you. So most people know Wraith Guard as such, but the Wraith Blades are obviously just the melee version of them.
They're really good.
Yeah, they are extremely strong. The Full Shield, for starters, gives them a 4-up invuln save. So straight away, they're a 3-up save, 4-up invuln save. So
Neil, one
you can.
second. So you can give a Wraith Blade a 4-up invuln save.
Yes.
Can you give a Wraith Knight a 4-up invuln save?
No, you can't, Carl.
Well, that's fucking ridiculous,
Makes
isn't
sense. Yeah, I was going to say. So a giant version of them, where Wraithguard basically comes up to his kneecap.
Yeah.
They get a 4-up invuln save, but the Wraith Knight hasn't got any invuln save.
That's fascinating, Neil. Do you think GW need to listen to this and sort that out?
Right now, in the distance, you can hear the slow little pitter-patter of clapping GW's logic and thinking at the best of times. So just going to leave that one there.
Carry on, sir.
Well done, GW. Well done. Stop concentrating on Marines and start editing the rest of the game, you bellends. Yeah, no, but switching back fire, they got 5-inch movement, so they're not the fastest, but you wouldn't expect that. Big lumps of bone. 3-up ballistic, 3-up weapon skill, which. Yeah, okay, it's not too bad. Standard Marine. Strength 5, though, toughness 6, which is big. Like you said, in this durability where everything's geared up to try and kill things, toughness 6 is actually very, very good.
Yes.
Attacks 2, leadership 9, 3-up save, 4-up invuln, as we discussed. The Ghost Axe, though, is strength plus 2, so they've got strength 7 weapon, minus 3, and D3 damage.
Nice.
Also, they have the ability, fires a wrath, add 1 to the attack characteristic of his model in which they turn. So when they charge, each of them's got 3 attacks with a strength 7 minus 3 D3 weapon, and they have 3 wounds apiece. Yeah. So for me, more than anything else, they're fairly expensive, but in 9th edition, that centre board objective holding is generally the one that will win you the game, or 9 times out of 10 is where the bum fight end up going into, is that centre field objective. So dropping a unit of Guardians in there before hasn't really ever done very much good, especially if they start concentrating on it, whereas delivering a Wave Serpent on there with a squad of Wraith Blades ready to jump out has generally done a lot. I will generally make sure it's the Wave Serpent with the twin star cannons as well. So like I said, if I bump into any Primaris Marines or assaulting assessors jumping the way down the board, you've got that higher output of strength 6 minus 3 D3 damage from the Wave Serpent plus the Serpent Shield. You've got the Shuriken Cannon, and then, like you said, a squad of Wraith Blades that jump out in melee. Because, let's face it, that's probably one of the few units in an Eldar army that's any good at melee as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're strong in combat, so they can take a hit as well as put one out. I mean, would you blast them up in the waves? You wouldn't want to deploy them straight away, would you? You'd want to hold them in that Wave Serpent and look for a target of opportunity, maybe?
Yeah. For me personally, I would almost wait until counter charge is available.
Yeah.
So until the Wave Serpent's taken a bit of a battering, and then I know a unit's within counter charge range, or they're at least within a range where if I don't make the charge, last thing I want to leave, they're durable enough to take a turn worth of maybe shots coming at them. 2 turns of shots, they'll get rid of them. Definitely.
Yep.
So yeah, it's opportunity strikes, but yeah, if you get them in at the right time, yeah, they kick a bit of a punch to them. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of them.
Their movement 5 doesn't. They're not hindered when they come out of a Wave Serpent because you had that 3 inches, didn't you? And then you move that 5. So actually, out of a Wave Serpent, they're 8-inch movement, and you got the 12-inch charge. So actually, you know, they can, you can really sort of move them up the field if you want to. And yeah, I've got 2 units of Wraith blades here, but I've armed them with the swords. Because I like the 4 attacks on the charge rather than the 3. But you know, I think it's a solid.
You just like to be different, basically, don't you?
I'm such an irritating little twat. I do. I like to be
I wouldn't say
different.
little,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And there are.
stomping
No,
around in his
he
Templar
has lost
armor.
weight, mate. He's lost weight, so you know.
Yeah, I know. I did say last time I seen you looking a little bit more of a Slim Jim. To be honest with you, Carl, yeah, well done, mate. But it still doesn't mean that you make good decisions on 40k. Again, you collect Templars.
Oh, here we go. But you can use Tears of Aisha on them, which you can sort of like get D3 wounds back as well. So again, there's things you can do with Wraith Guard and Wraith Construct units with stratagems that make them that little bit better, a little bit durable. So yeah, I actually think they're a good unit to choose. Dale?
Yeah, I like them, to be fair. I remember looking. Do you remember when they did the Christmas box set? Not this Christmas, just gone, the Christmas before.
No, that was the APOC box set, wasn't it?
That was it. It was the APOC one.
Yeah.
And that box set, in terms of that, and I remember really reading into it at that point and just thinking, and it's a totally different way of playing it. And it's something which I really hope in 9th they kind of really knuckle down into it. Because I know there's a HQ choice that's only Forge World. Is it Wraithseer?
It's no longer a HQ.
Is
it's
it not?
Heavy support.
No.
Oh, so that's a shame, because actually it'd be a lovely way, a great way of playing a totally different, real elite style army doing that, and I think it would really give Eldar something different. If
a nice thematic approach.
Really
you could
absolutely.
A pure Wraith construct army. Yeah, the thing is though, at the same time, I think you could almost get away with it. Like you said, it frees up a headquarters choice by not having them as in that, which I suppose is a small bonus. But like you said, if you were to be cheeky and potentially just put a fast seer in there or a spirit seer, or I don't know, what's a bone singer come as? Because bone singers are meant to sit there and heal Wraith constructs, aren't they? Are they HQ still? Or?
Oh, that you've stumped me there.
I don't think they are they?
Were they elite? Were they elite?
They're an elite, and they've been legend.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. If they were potentially in a HQ, then you could have the Bone Singer as the headquarters, and then the Wraith Seer as the heavy support, which would have been really cool.
So
but yeah, I agree with that. That'd have been good.
A bit of fluff then. So Wraith units, they are sung into existence by a Bone Singer. So in all the lore, like I had them when the Tyranids were wiping them out, and they were bringing out Wraith Guard, Wraith Blades, all the time, just churning them out the Infinity Circuit. Bone Singers were just building them as quickly as they could fill them. And if they've made that unit legend, that's a little bit sad actually. Because that's part of the lore and the fluff.
Bringing out a new kit for it, and it's actually just that
maybe
one that's going to be. I mean, you'd really hope they would do it. But judging by the previous releases of Eldar stuff by Games Workshop, it'll be in about 30 years' time. So,
hey, Guardians have been the same since 2nd edition or 3rd edition. Just saying.
I played Warhammer 40k as a kid, left the hobby, and came back, and they're still identical. The rest of it, everything is unrecognisable. It's still like, they still look terrible. They didn't even.
We won't even go into the Avatar Arcane model.
I love my metal version.
What is that? What is it? What breed is he? I don't understand what it is. It's an absolute gloopy. I mean, they've revisited some. I mean, the new Jane Saar model is fantastic. But yeah, they definitely need to get a grip.
But the Forge World version is quite nice, isn't it? It's got the spear, or it's got the big sword. It's a lot taller, and it doesn't have the stupid, ridiculous hair. But yeah, okay. So shall we go on to fast attack? Because we already had one elite choice. So fast attack then. So again, Carl, You're a little bit different, you wanker. So I've gone for a full unit of Hornets. I really like Hornets. They're lovely models, and I think they're really, really good.
I can't wait till he's finished.
Based on what models we like the look of.
I'm pretty sure you asked us here for competitive means.
Yeah, but you can make him competitive. Hey, a good player can make a shit army great. I'm just saying, boys. Just saying.
So how are you going to
So
do
what are you
it?
going to? Yeah, I was going to say, what are you going to do? Pass your left to someone else.
So Hornets, if you don't know what they are, they're a Forge World unit. They're 90 points each, so they're not the cheapest, but I actually think they're really good, and they got a place in competitive 40k. So they explode. They got a hover tank. They've got something called Lightning Assault, which basically means that they've got a built-in -1 to hit them. Obviously, you can't stack that these days, but still -1's nothing to be snuffed at. They got movement of 18 inches, ballistic skill 3, strength 4, toughness 6, 8 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8, save of 3 up. No built-in inven or anything silly like that. They're armed with 2 pulse lasers, range 36, heavy 2, so they got 4 shots, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. That's killing Marines every day of the week. Yeah, and you got 3 of them. You got a Farseer next to them, buffing them. That's where I would use my Farseer to give them a lot more buffs, and obviously the +2 movement on my Farseer to keep up with them. And then my second fast attack choice. Now this is the one that I'm going to probably get my head kicked in for. And people, oh, that's not competitive. I've gone for 3 Vipers with 2 Shuriken cannons.
That's every Eldar player across the world screaming at you.
But I actually
They're
think.
so shit.
Why did you pick that?
Eh?
Why did you pick that?
Because a unit of 3 of them, they have a movement of 20 inches. Yeah.
Carl,
Yeah.
When Dale said to you, why did you pick that? That wasn't opening the forum up to justification. That was the tone of voice to say, you're an idiot. Delete them from your list and reuse the points in something else, mate.
No, I think you get a lot of bang for your buck with them, because if you want to, you can deep strike them with that 1 command point. A unit's 180 points.
What's the point in their movement if you're deep striking them?
Because if you want to keep them alive, dingbat.
They die to a stiff breeze.
Generally, like, I'm not being phony. Someone sneezing COVID at them kills half an Eldar army anyway, and the Vipers will be the first thing that dies. They're that pathetic.
No, I disagree. I think each one of them brings 6 shots, so that's 18 shots at strength 6. I've got that extended range on them. I've got that ability if something's within 12 to be -1 AP straight away.
Can you do me a favour, mate? Can you message me when he's finished?
Yeah, it's fine.
A few moments later, is that what we're saying? No,
several hours later.
But if you want to put them 20 inches up the board and cause a nuisance, that's what they're going to do. They're going to cause a nuisance. People are going to try and shoot at them because they're worried that there's a unit that close to their army pumping out that shot. And if they're shooting...
Actual good fast attack choices, because all I'm hearing is just ways of justifying that you've misspent points.
Please, yeah, mate. Dale, moving on to you, mate. Let's move on to a decent. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
come
so
on.
It's really simple.
Wait. What do you reckon to the Hornets, though, boys?
Right, I can't say. So I used Hornets back in 7th on a tournament list, and when they were very, very good, they were slightly cheaper and they had a bit more punch behind them, and there was things that you could do with them. They were slightly relevant then, but even then they weren't amazingly effective, to be honest with you. I was probably a little bit of a sucker in the ways that I'd just come back to a hobby and they did look nice. They look a bit like lobsters, but hey, they put shots out. In 9th edition, just no.
They give you board control.
But at least the thing is, at least your justification on them is their weapon systems and they can sort of kill things. 180 points on 3 Vipers. Carl, go outside, headbutt the wall until the point where you fall down and knock sense into yourself. Then please rejoin the podcast, because they're ridiculous. They're the shittest model, I think, to be honest, and they're the most ugliest looking model in the Craftworld Codex.
Do you reckon? I think they're pretty.
You actually used the word pretty.
They're cute. What are you on about, boys? What's going on? So, okay, let's move on then. Dale, let's talk about your generic boring unit that you've chosen for fast attack.
Right, let's go for the best marine killers in this entire codex, all right?
Yep.
Shining Spears, okay? So, for those who don't know, jet bike, all right, on the charge, two strength 6 attacks each, all right, -4 AP, so you've got no save for the vast majority of Marines, 2 damage apiece. These are Marine killers. They're going to absolutely mulch everything. If you're being sensible, you'll then use feigned retreat every turn, 2 command points, pull them back out, charge again, strength 6. All right, so you're hitting everything on 3s, you're wounding Marines on 3s, they're dying. Simple as. I've done it as 2 units, 1 of 6, 1 of 3. That's just pure personal preference, just so you've got a slightly not wasting command points too much. You're able to get the most out of it. They've got 4 up invulns on against range fire. They're going to be attacking first. They're just designed to murder that front line of a Marine-based army, which is what we're talking about. But even against things like Death Guard, they're going to really, really, really hurt. I think that by far from this, we've talked about the Wave Serpent being the best unit in the Codex. I would say these run them really close.
Yeah, Shining Spears are
100%
good.
agree.
Yeah,
100% agree. Yeah.
I
So
think
my fast attack choice is 5 of them as well, to be honest with you, because everything that Dale's just said there, to be honest with you. I mean, 4 up invulns against range, where you keep them around the corner where they're almost out of charge range, and you just jet bite them round and just smash them into something's face. No, like you said, you just bat them back out again and just keep doing it. But it's the fact that, like you said, it's shooting. The fact that they can shoot at strength 6 -4 2 damage, and their melee is exactly the same. It's just, for me personally, I think they're absolutely superb. And I agree with Dal. I think they run the Wave Serpent for a very close second place, to be honest with you, on their best unit in the Codex, to be honest with you. I think they're very, very strong.
Yeah. I mean, they would struggle now against Death Guard with the way Disgusting Resilience has changed. So their 2 damage would only be 1 damage, wouldn't it?
It would, but it's just so against Death Guard, perhaps less good. Obviously, against Necrons or anything else, you kind of waste that extra wound. But if we're still thinking the meta is still, even after those codexes, is still pretty dominant. Against against intercessors or assault intercessors, against that, if you want a way that removes that front line, clears the objective, so your Wave Serpents move up. This is meant to be competitive. We're not just talking individual units, how to win the game. You're clearing that front line, your Wave Serpents are moving up, your Guardians or your Dire Avengers are then holding those objectives nice and snug and secure, knowing that they're only facing off against the range fire. They've done their job. They're going to die. They're not going to survive beyond turn 2, 3, all right? But if they can clear that front line, game over.
Even if, I mean, for me personally, even if you can pick a target, a unit, for me personally, I'd run them alongside potentially my Wave Serpent with my Wraith Blades in them, and just use it as one big punching hole to go straight through. If they are taking centre board and they are holding that objective and they put something durable, Marines, again, we harp on about, but Redemptor Dreads or something else like that that's in there, and I need to get rid of it, they add that extra level of punch to clear something out of the way for then my Wraith Blades to jump out and jump into combat and help clear out with things as well, and potentially then screen once they do drop back. They can then, the Wraith Blades can almost act as a screen to shield the Shining Spears as well. I think they just tie in, having them on a jet bike, having them as a normal unit, they would be particularly good, but having them on a 16-inch movement with, like you said, that been advanced role as well, ride the wind. It just makes them so strong, to be honest with you. I mean, I can see why for so long they've been spammed in lists, because they're just ruthless, to be honest.
And I mean, as well, with the smaller boards, that helps with a big movement as well.
They're in there. They've got fly. They're in their turn 1, aren't they? And we've all picked bike-based HQ choices to go along with this as well. So if you really wanted to spam this out, you can, and they're going to be so well supported. I don't think in a truly competitive game, not going to go that way, because you're not going to be able to hold your objectives.
Would you go Outrider detachment and 3 units of them?
No, because you're wasting your CP. Being really honest, I think that actually no. And to be honest, there's no real anything else to take it as a fast attack anyway, in my mind. Sorry, Karl. So I would just go, you've already got the 3 slots in a battalion anyway, why not just use them there?
Yeah, exactly. Max out the minimal fast attack, save your CP. Again, it's a good point. You run your fastest Sky Runner, you've got Guide and Doom
Yep.
I mean, he just adds to the punch again. I mean, you can almost pick, like I said, a hole or an objective or in a certain area, and you just run the fastest Sky Runner behind them. You guide your Doom. You potentially, even if your Warlock's tagging in, you jinx it, and then you've got a Wave Serpent again for me, Wraith Blades, and the Shining Spears. You're generally going to punch a huge hole or kill something in the center area and then start camping on it. And then, like you said before, Lon, you can just back your flipping jet bikes, your Farseer, your Warlock, and your Shining Spears right out the way, hide them behind non-line of sight terrain out the way, and just wait until you can pick your next objective,
Would
scoot them
you
over the other side of the board.
would you say then, in this instance, if you're going to go Shining Spear heavy, an Autok on a Sky Runner with a laser lance and the melee weapon is a good option in that case?
Yeah, he is
I
for
still think,
points.
yeah, that I was going to say. I think if points weren't a thing, yeah, fine. I still think you're going to get more by having
The
the
Farseer.
Farseer and the Warlock there
Mm.
buffing the hell out of them. Because if you start playing around with then, if you're really going down this road, if you're then using Seer Councils to spend 1 CP, so they've both got +1 to their psychic tests.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, those powers are just happening.
Yep.
You've got Exarchs as well in the unit, so we've got extra powers kind of kicking in there depending on what you've picked. There's just so much stuff that works and really allies with them, and it's odd because for a lot of 8th they weren't particularly amazing. They were they're overpriced.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it's kind of their best one. The other just stratagem to kind of bring up with them as well is just lightning fast reactions.
Actions,
So,
yeah.
so because you've then got 2 CP, just helps with the hit rolls, and just makes it so much easier as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, helps the heroes, hinders those that are attacking them. So if you haven't got first turn, or if they've ended up in an exposed position, you need them to do one more unit, that -1 as well. Once again, same as before, it doesn't stack, same as we were talking about earlier, Carl.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
none of picked E and N, so it doesn't really
But I
matter.
think if you didn't get first turn, with the way it works now after the FAQ, if you win first turn, you have to take it. So you have
Yeah.
to set up more defensively, I think. And with a
You would
unit,
do anyway with Craftsworld, to be honest with you, because their movement is so big. There's no,
it enables
you
you
would
to do what you
hide
need to
everything
do.
away, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's all got fly keyword, so you just tuck it away in corners behind terrain, so it's out of sight. Because then if you are getting turn 1, most of your stuff's got 20 odd inch movement. You just jet it straight out, land on objectives, and you just start from there.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
me
definitely.
personally, you wouldn't ever deploy anything aggressively, to be honest with you. Just hide it all away. There's very few armies I think that maybe would. Guards potentially, only because they've got so many men, they can't really hide it all away. But
No.
yeah, Eldar, you just hide them away in corners because, like you said, you can just get trapped around the board in seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And with the way terrain works as well, if it's a 5-inch deep terrain, they can't shoot you anyway. Which again, this is why I think it's that marine meta, that sort of marine heavy list at tournaments that maybe are hindering Elder a little bit, and they're not getting to the top. But they do. If we've been sat here now for over an hour, and we've broken it down quite quickly, that actually there are some really strong units in Elder, and they can do really, really well.
They're just so vulnerable to real basic mass bolter fire is enough to wipe out Eldar, unfortunately. And that's what's hurting them. It's just that lack of survivability. Previously you were able to stack the -1s to hit from different sources, and that was a really valid way of keeping them alive. And frankly, it's so cheap to put a unit of tactical marines or a unit of intercessors out there that 5 intercessors would easily murder that guardian
10
squad,
guardians, yeah.
with no effort at all. And that's the objective gone. And because it's that objective game and you're needing those troops on the ground, it just really hurts Craftworld, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
No, I totally agree. Like you said, generally battles and wars are won by troops on the ground. Firm believer of that in real life, and obviously in this game. But yeah, and if you look at the troops on the ground, Marines have got it all at the moment. Death Guard, they're exactly the same variants, but toughness and levels. When you've got 2 wound infantry with better saving throws, better weaponry, Eldar are a little bit screwed. It's the trivial details that make Eldar stop dropping into a bottom tier, and it's the things like their psychic powers. So you talk about an Autarch Skyrunner. The things that make Eldar what they are is that Farseer with Guide and Doom.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what buffs they might be able to do. Those 2 psychic powers are OP in my eyes, to be honest with you. They're fantastic, and they get Eldar to where they need to be. So you need to involve those in the army, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the only way Eldar lists, like you said, I think we're seeing the common theme, to be honest with you, is just speed to get around the board, and
Yep.
then whatever weight of shots you can get out, really.
I think next then we're going on to heavy support.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit of difference here, though, isn't there, with all our lists? So if I go first, I've gone.
Oh, here we go. What was Karl pulled out of his arse from the codex on this one?
I've gone for 2 fire prisms, and the reason why I've gone for shuriken cannons underneath as well. And the reason why I like a fire prism is that it's very, very versatile. So if I've got a tank that I really, 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 really want to hit and kill, I can go for a strength 12 minus 5 d6 damage option, which I'm going to roll over 2 and miss. Or you can go for a d3 strength 9 minus 4 d3 damage weapon. Or you can go for a strength 6 minus 3 damage 1 weapon. And if you move half, you get to fire twice. When 8th edition movement with Aeldari vehicles meant you were flipping hindered with ballistic skill, so you went to ballistic skill 4, but that doesn't happen now. So you can move 8 inches because their movement is 16, still fire twice, and really put some down and really thin out units, take out a key unit of your opponent, and obviously you've got that stratagem which allows you to reroll hits and reroll wounds. I believe it's like 1 command point, or was it 2? No, it's 1 command point called Linked Fire. Again, which is really, really strong. So, yeah, what do you think?
I like fire prisms. I've got time for this one. I'm actually not against it. I think linked fires are really strong stratagem as well. My only thing is their points. I just think they're expensive in terms of their points.
Yeah.
And a 7 toughness 7 with a 3-up save is not amazing for the amount of points you're sinking into it.
180 points for one.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on anything until Dal's done his, because I know what Dal's taking for his heavy. So once you've both done yours, I'll probably then go into both of them, to be honest with you.
All right, okay, let me go. So I've gone, as I mentioned at the beginning, I tend to play guard. I love a good bit of artillery. So I've decided to go for Night Spinner. All right, I've actually gone for 3 of them, which I kind of think is probably too far, but let me kind of run through it. If you're playing on a 9th edition board, it's full of terrain, line of sight is difficult, and that's going to be the biggest problem for a fire prism, actually, is being able to make those shots through a cluttered board. Night Spinners, you've got 2d6 shots, okay, blast weapons, all right, and no line of sight concerns in the slightest, okay? Strength 7, strong, going to be tearing up in the Marines and everything else like that, 2 damage. Its biggest weakness, and this is what held it against it, what made me really struggle on whether to put it or not, was the AP. Right, so 0 AP unless they roll a 6, in which case it's -4. However, my thinking on this is, unfortunately, any of the Eldar vehicles that just that toughness 7 and a 3-up save, if you have them visible, they're just going to get chewed up. They're going to get absolutely chewed up by eradicators in particular, and therefore, quite frankly, it doesn't matter what weapon it's got, it's probably only going to get to shoot once. Whereas with Night Spinners, I thought, all right, I'm at least get 2 or 3 turns to shooting at this.
Because you can hide them at the back.
I'm going to hide them at the back. I'm going to go full Basilisk. They're going to hide behind buildings or wherever else they need to go.
Okay.
Do you want me to go, Karl?
I do like Night Spinners. They used to have a flamer shot rather than their main weapon, so you used to rock them at the field. This is 7th, I think. You used to rock them at the field and just fire a flamer strength 7 shot from it, kind of like what you do with a cannon when there's loads of infantry in front of you. You put loads of bloody ball bearings or whatever. It was just like it was really good. But no, I like Night Spinners. I'm not gonna lie, that I was very tempted myself, but I do
Karl.
like a fire prism. Yes, what?
Karl.
What?
Dal's done better than you.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say, so for my choice, I've taken Dart Reapers. I'll come on to them in a minute.
Oh,
for me
wank.
Unbelievable. Yeah, of course they are, mate. Pretty much been a meta in Eldar for quite some time. Fire prisms, I do like them. I've got the models myself. I think they're fantastic. Great looking models in my eyes as well. And I think they've got a certain level of place, to be honest with you. Their keyword or their link fire is fantastic. I think they are great. But for the exact reasons that Dale said, the minute someone sees them, people delete them.
Yep.
Because they see that big long crystal turret and they get scared and they know the 3 different shots and they just generally try and wipe them out. And like you said, an eradicator bomb or an aggressor bomb dropping on top of them and then punching through them or shooting, melting them, they die quickly. For me, the night spinners, it's that heavy 2d6 blast. Now, obviously, with the rulings, if anyone's not aware about it, obviously, if it's a 10-man squad, you're getting 10 shots out of it. At strength 7, 2 damage, and Dal said, okay, it's only -4 AP if you're rolling 6s, but a standard Marine will roll 1 2s anyway, and you will get the occasional 6s. As soon as you do, it's a dead Marine or dead Intercessor every single time. I generally think the amount of weight of shots at these things, and the fact it is non-line of sight. So in tournament play, bearing in mind this is a competitive list building, when you're putting units in magic boxes, where unless you can't hit them because you can't see them, these are those sort of unit deleters. For me, as a Raptors player, Raven Guard successor, I rely on my infiltrator squads hiding in terrain on objectives and basically not being able to be seen and being shot. These are my worst nightmare. They really are, because these guys will sit right at the back, 48 inches away, and just roll shots and just delete Marines each time. And that would be a nightmare for me personally. So as a Marine player, switching my head from Craftworld to Marine and having my infiltrator stuck on 2 objectives, having that many weight of shots pour out and land on top of them, and each time one of them goes through deleting an infiltrator, I think they're absolutely solid. I did think about them myself, but as I said, I want it to be a bit different. And I'll say a bit different, but I've gone for Dark Reapers instead because, well, we all know what Dark Reapers can do.
Yes. Yeah. So how many Dark Reapers did you go for?
So I've got 5 and the Exarch, so 6 in total. The Exarch, obviously, I brought the Tempest Launcher because generally it's anti-infantry chaff. I feel a lot of the time that if all of a sudden something does get relatively close to them, it's nice to have something that can just pour a weight of shots out on them and just thin the crowds out a little bit as well. So the Tempest Launcher is obviously heavy 2d6 and it's blast again, and that's strength 4 -2 1 damage, so that can thin the crowds a little bit more. But obviously Dark Reapers have their 2 different shots. You've got your Starshot missiles, which is a heavy 1, strength 8 -2 flat 3 damage, or you've got your Star Swarm missile, which is a heavy 2, strength 5 -2 2 damage. So they can switch again. You can have a squad of Dark Reapers at the back surrounded by a Guardian squad to make sure that they generally can't be charged or they get another round or so of shooting off. And then, like I said, pick a squad of Intercessors, Marines that you don't like, they're gone, or pick a vehicle and just chuck it into it. The fact that always hit on 3s, the Exarch will re-roll 1. It just, for me, they've always been a complete and utter winner for me. You can sit them up high, being infantry as well, on top of terrain, good line of sight on things, and just let them flail off at things, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that was my decision on it.
Dark Reapers they've always been solid choice all the way through every edition of 40k. The reason why I didn't go for them is they've got 1 wound, they've got a 3-up armor save. So if you got a unit of Marines Intercessors in front of them, they're going to die very, very quickly, and they are actually quite expensive these days, aren't they? So
no, I agree massively. They are quite expensive. I mean, that unit of 6 is 200 points. But I mean, look at how much your fire prisms cost, and if you were to look at the weight of shots, I mean, if we're going to go into Math Hammer and say, okay, potentially how many of, I mean, is it the Star Shot? Sorry, is the heaviest one. If you look at that, I mean, they're technically putting 6 of those shots out. That's going to be at the same level as what your fire prism's near enough putting out. Okay, you can put a slightly high damage on it, but there's not many things above strength 8 that's going to worry about it, to be honest with you. And what's your highest strength? Is it 12? It's still not going to be wounded on 2s for toughness 8 stuff anyway. So like I said, I think for Math Hammer, for the weight of shots, for the amount of points, I mean, how much all your fire prisms come to?
So one fire prism is 180 points, but the dispersed beam is heavy d6, and that'd be 2d6. It's strength 6, so it's wounding your Dark Reapers on a 2. It's AP 3, so they got a 6-up save. It's only 1 damage, it only needs to be 1 damage. You know, so...
Yeah, but I'm talking about if you were taking them against other armies.
Yeah,
For me,
yeah.
like I said, for the points that you've spent on the fire prisms, for me, that's anti-tank. I've already got my wave serpents. They've already got bright lances. They've already got the stun cannons. I don't really have to worry about the anti-tank so much. The Reapers just give another dimension, another threat that I can stick in the corner that someone says, I either ignore them at my own risk and they'll just keep peeling things off, or if I'm turning to delete them, it's one thing less shooting at other things we're about to talk about, or my wave serpents, or my wave blades, etc.
And it's that always hitting on a 3. For 8th edition, when you had Aeldari units, like you could make them -3, -4 to hit.
Yeah, they look
and
stupid.
It's ridiculous. And I got unit Dark Reapers. Don't worry about it. Ta-da.
Yeah.
That's always a nice thing with them. And I love the models. I don't like the Failcast version, so I've got all the metal ones from back in the day. I've even got the original ones that came out. Dark Reapers, fucking brilliant.
Well, they had a really weird X-Arch, didn't he? Looked like he had a ball and chain in his hand instead.
Yes, yeah.
That was really odd. That was like one of the first. It was like its first or second edition X-Arch for Dark Reapers. It was like, why have all of them got missile launchers, but that bloke's running around with a flail?
What always made me laugh is that the X-Arch could have a really good combat weapon. It's like, why the fuck would you want to get him anywhere near combat?
Anyone's coming near them in combat, they're dead, basically.
Why would you want to do that? But, you can add Morgan Ra with them, can't you? They're Phoenix Lord. And he allows them to reroll all hits. But he allows them to reroll all hits. You've got a unit of 10 of them. I've seen people do that.
Mate, he's the most pointless flipping. Do you know how much? He cost 150 points, mate. 150 points to sit and reroll hits. Again, I've got my Farseer if I go and guide and doom on things.
Yeah, and
then I'll pick them off with my Dark Reapers.
His weapon choices aren't the greatest as well. But he always hits on a 2. Hooray!
Okay. Got anything constructive to put in instead of this idiot?
No, not really. Unfortunately, I was kind of wedded to my idea, so I didn't look into them too much. I think they're strong. I think Carl's an idiot. So
yeah, there we go. We're agreed on things then, to be honest with you.
This is going really well. It's a great podcast. So, heavy support done. Me and Dale, very similar type of units in the sense that we've gone for the sort of tanky, shooty. Neil's gone for infantry with really, really good guns, and Dark Reapers, you can't knock on, they're really good units, which is why they always increase their points and they don't get a decrease. What else have we got on our list then? So I've got a flyer, and I think all 3 of us have got a flyer. I've only got the one.
Got 2 flyers.
I've got 2 flyers.
I've just got one. So I've gone for a Crimson
That's because you wasted points on fucking Vipers, Carl.
Nah, it's fine. I like my Vipers. I think they're solid.
They're shite. You're telling me those 3 Vipers, mate, you could have sat there, saved those points, and cut maybe a unit off of somewhere else, and you could have afforded in a minute what we're about to talk about, but instead you're taking a load of chaff shuriken cannon.
Hey, don't sweat it. It's my list. I think it'd do well. So, Crimson Hunter Exarch. I think you kind of have to, don't you? I mean, during 8th, it was always Hemlock Wraith Fighters. But I've gone for Crimson Hunter. And I've spent a command point to give him a 5-up invuln. I think you have to do that, which is Evade from the Phoenix or the Psychic Awakening book. And you can reroll 1s for it, so it hits on 2s, rerolling 1s, and because now 9th you can move and shoot at your normal ballistic skill, that's quite good.
Yeah.
And obviously it comes with a Bright Lance and a Post Laser, 2 really, really good weapons.
Yeah.
I've gone for 1, you 2 have gone for
2.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, yeah.
It's hard not to take them, isn't it? It's hard not to take them. They're really good, and like you said, you point it at a tank or a unit, it will delete it. I've taken 1. I've played 1 against the guy at the club with some Tau, and the only thing that saved his Riptide turn 1 was the fucking drones. I promise you. And the Riptide was the only thing that gave me any headaches during that game. So, guys, talk to me about Crimson Hunters.
So, I mean, I've gone for Crimson Hunters. Yeah, so I've gone for, I've gone for making sure the Exile power, making sure that's right. I've put a Vade on there, so they've got a 5-up invul.
Yeah.
All right, just to try and keep them up in the sky a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I've also just gone for Bright Lance, Pulse Lasers, and everything else. These are representing, realistically, this is my anti-tank, which for those who've been paying attention will notice throughout my list is probably the weakest thing I've got. This is where that's coming from. So a Pulse Laser, 2 Bright Lances on there, also making use of that excellent ballistic skill and everything else. These are designed to get up there, get in the face, delete things that are a threat really early, which is kind of the theme I've got running through my army. Is we go fast, we go hard, and then we try and dominate the board for the rest of the game. That 5-up involves to try and get them to a turn 2, to be honest, because otherwise they're just going to get shot out of the sky.
Sounds like my sex life.
Right. None of us even know that. None of us.
Nah, literally, if that better not get edited out, because I want to replay it back to Kelly just so she can burst out laughing, and we'll play that in the second part of the podcast.
So yeah, I why haven't you gone for so during 8th it was all about the Hemlock. Why haven't you gone for Hemlocks?
They're still really relevant. So I was going to say, obviously we've covered the Crimson Hunter X Arch. We know what they do. They are mental. The Hemlock at the moment, the only thing that lets it down is the fact that it's not an X Arch. It's slightly more expensive. But the thing for me more than anything else, again, we're harping about at the moment, is marine metas and things like that. The Hemlock Ray Fighters have got the best weapon, I think, pretty much, or one of the best weapons in the game at the moment to delete Primaris Marines. That Hemlock, the heavy D Scythe, range 16 inches, but it's auto hitting at 16 inches.
Yep.
Strength, assault D3, strength 12, -4, flat 2 damage. You're basically, like you said, you need to, as long as you roll well on your D3 dice, every time you're doing that, you're basically killing a Marine.
That's the sort of unit you want to aim at Eradicators, don't you?
Yes, yeah. Aggressors, anything there that's basically nasty that you want deleting, and within 16 inches, those Hemlocks will basically just delete them off the board, to be honest with you.
Go on, Dale, you're going to say something?
I don't disagree. I mean, it's going to mulch Marines, but it's not going to mulch very many Marines. And for 240 points, as you said, it's so expensive. And if you're then thinking, all right, well, I'm going to use the D-Scythe against, a tank, against a Lehman Russ or something else. All right, great. You're gonna wound it, definitely, but you're not going to do more than 6 damage a turn. The damage per turn, per point, is actually pretty poor.
Yeah.
Something that's pretty vulnerable. Toughness 6, 3-up save. It's not going to take much to take that down. 12 wounds as well. You're talking something that it won't take much.
It's an all or nothing unit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But the all is not worth the nothing in my mind.
Yeah.
Where's the Hemlock Ray Fighter X Arch?
Well, it's a warlock, isn't it? And a fighter. That's what it is. It's a warlock. So obviously it's not an aspect. It's from the psychic shrine, which
flipping annoys me. It's just, the thing is, like I said, if you look at the profiles of the Crimson Hunter X Arch, it's about a page and a half long because there's that much around it. Like you said, it's got so much going on for it. And then you look at the Hemlock and there's just not that much there. I don't, like I said, I think for the additional points as well, I think they need, like you said, in 7th, they were so good. The heavy D Scythe operated differently there. You could almost delete anything that it killed.
You would delete an Imperial
no matter
Knight
what the wounds were.
Yeah, it was a D weapon, wasn't it? Rather than,
yeah,
and it would delete an Imperial Knight on a 6.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Your Wraith Knight used to be jumping around with D weapons. Your flipping Hemlocks used to have D weapons, and you just fly everything around. And as soon as you're rolling high or re-rolling them, you just watch models vanish off the board. Whereas now, it's almost like they still think that a threat they were in 7th edition and left them at additional points. Whereas I don't really see as much of a threat. The Crimson Hunter, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you were flying and you wanted to go down the Elder Flyer route list for a competitive list, I would chuck a Hemlock in there just to sit there and maybe ghost around and pick squads of Marines off. But I agree with what Dale said, to be honest with you. I think when you look at them compared to Crimson Hunter X Arches, there's no real competition.
They're cheaper, aren't they, the codex art, that it's about
Yeah,
30 points cheaper,
yeah.
and you can apply those points elsewhere. So okay, so that's our lists. I actually think, piss taken aside, I think they're three really strong lists, and they would do okay. Do you think, Elder, when the new codex comes out, will we see units like Wraith Knights re-emerge with Invans and hopefully a little bit better? I don't think the points are a problem. I think it's the lack of survivability that harms the Wraith Knight.
I think they'll be strong again in ninth. I really do. I think they need to be, because apart from Space Marine, Elders are another bit of a poster child of GW. They've
Yeah.
always been strong and they've always been kept up there. I think we'll see a lot of boost to aspect warriors. I think the aspects, potentially, if you look at the way the new codex are laid out with, like I said, Death Guards and Necrons, I think that codex layout is something that we're going to see more and more of.
Yeah.
And I think potentially you might see more of, if you're running certain aspects hosts, or like I said, Wraith host constructs and things like that, you'll get more pluses and benefits to running those sort of units, because there's a lot of them that are obsolete now, never ever get. I mean, like, when was the last time someone saw a swooping hawk on the games board?
I'm just looking at that page in the codex now, and warp spiders. Do you remember how broken they were?
They were, yeah, just constantly jumping them around the board. I ran them. I had about 20 or 30 of them. They were another unit where it's like, yeah, you go
Horrible
to
to
shoot
play
me.
against.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump them out the board round into cover. So now all of a sudden, all those shots that you put at me are completely wasted because they're now out of sight and you can't shoot me again. So yeah, they were broken massively, but now again they're obsolete, and there's quite a few of them. So I think they need to fix quite a few. We've addressed quite a few issues on here, like you said, between certain invulns for saves, toughness, armor saves, potentially just buffing certain units to etc. so they can at least compete on a level with everyone else, and then just do what you do with codex releases, give them some more new fancy stratagems and some new playbooks, and like I said, maybe if you run certain aspect hosts within battalions or patrol detachments, then you get a big plus for them. Yeah, who knows, but yeah, hopefully they'll get strong again, because they're fun to play, to be honest with you. They're fun to play.
Such a beautiful looking army.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of them are. Some of them are. Like I said, the Avatar of Kane is one of the most gloopiest, crappiest. There's a few of them that need redoing. But yeah, I love the tanks. I love the flyers. I love the fields of some of the models and the armies. I think they are really, really good.
I mean, when you deploy a fully painted Eldar army, it looks really, really cool.
It looks all right. It looks all right.
All right, God.
So I mean, I'm the non-Eldar player here, so I'll give my opinion. Having spent some time with it, we've talked through it. All right. Fundamentally, the actual core of the army is what needs work here. All right. So to me, the units themselves, their strength, their toughness, it fits. All right. They're a glass cannon. They always have been a glass cannon. Unfortunately, the current trend towards more invuln saints, more wounds, higher toughness, it's just really, really hurting them. That's never going to be what they are. So Games Workshop needs to actually come up with some more intelligent ways of dealing with it. So do you allow them to have -2 to hit instead of -1? Okay, and that's how we're getting them to survive. Are they going to get better from having cover saves and everything else like this? I think there's so many different ways they can do it that could actually make it really thematic and still interesting and still different to anyone else, but also have a competitive edge, and be able to compete. Because realistically, we've dragged out everything we can, I think, from Craftworld, and there'll be super tier players who are be able to get even more out of it. It's not enough. They're not going to get represented even with all of this.
No, I agree with I massively agree with Dale as well. I think the core components of it, I think if you look at their troops are piss weak. They really are. I mean, why? I know they're space pixies. I've said it before, but toughness 3, 5 up save. Really?
Yeah, but
where's the harm in? I mean, toughness 3, okay, but what's the harm in giving them a 3 up save or a 4 up save even?
So Guardians in the lore are militia, aren't they? They're like artists, and they're called upon to fight as and when. And maybe that they're in their mind they're thinking, well, that's where we need them to be. So maybe we need to improve the actual warriors of an Eldar army, which is the aspect warriors, isn't it? That's where the majority.
But then you need to put them in troop choices. This is the thing. Then you've got to look at the breakdown of list structure, and if you're only going to say that you're entitled to Dire Avengers, Guardians, Storm Guardians, and Rangers.
Nobody talked about Rangers, and
They used to. So I was
They're
going to bring them, but they got nerfed.
Yes. Yep. So back in the day, I know I'm marking on about the day back in the day. Like, so Bialtan used to be able to take aspect warriors as troops, because they favour the more. The only way the Eldar are going to survive is by fighting. So you would have more aspect warrior shrines on the Bialtan Craftworld, and that was the lore and the fluff behind all that. And they were really, taking fire dragons as troop choices. Imagine that now.
But this is the thing. Hopefully, in 9th edition, then they can. This is what I'm saying. There's benefits to taking aspect hosts. If you take a pure aspect host of 3, then it counts as your troop choice, and have it as something like that. Make them more relevant again. Make them to a point where they can be used again. And there's bonuses to them, like you said, to fire dragons on all of them, rather than just saying no, they take up an elite slot or a heavy slot, this, that, and the other. And then you look at it and give it, well, I've got better units I can, because all you do is end up spamming the same units, and our lists have just proved that, to be honest.
But this is what, so they do this really well in Age of Sigmar, okay? And I know this is a 40k one, but based on who your general is, so if I take Stormcast Eternals here, so the Marine equivalent over there, if you take a Lord Arcana, which is a spell casting general as your, Lord as your general, then you can take Sequitors and who are magic dealing elites normally. They can be taken as battle line, so equivalent to a troop. They need to kind of follow that through. I agree. It's kind of, you should be specializing, and actually it can be done on the Craftworld level. If you're playing, and once again, you'll have to really excuse my lack of knowledge about Craftworld here, but if you're taking, is it Ian Den, who is real focused into Wraiths?
Yep.
If you're taking them, you should be able to take units of Wraith Guard as troops.
You should be able to.
And that's it. But that's where it's going to come from, and it just helps the army to diversify, because it's really if you knew you were going to be playing against a Craftworld army, you're going to be taking loads of bolters, because it's going to absolutely mulch them, because it's so one-dimensional of what they can take. Change it up, let them flex, give a bigger difference between the craft worlds, and let people really spec in. If you want to take a real aspect warrior 1, okay, you nominate an aspect warrior. Maybe that's one of the custom craft worlds, is you can pick a aspect, and therefore you have to specialize it, and that's your troop choice. That's going to be what saves them. But also, they do need a buff. We've talked about a couple of the stronger aspect warriors. Frankly, most of them are terrible. Especially when you're comparing them against equivalents in other armies. A lot of the time they should be identical, and yet somehow they're not.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, I think we need to wrap it up there. I think 3 very, very good lists. I think 3 that would do okay. Maybe my Vipers, maybe not the best, but I like them.
There's no even conversation about not the best, mate. They're fucking wank. Please, just if we are going to remain friends, Carl, can you please just delete Vipers from your mind?
No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe it's the Dark Elder in me that I like my Venom, so maybe I think.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Another pointless army. Next thing we'll be going on about Templars again.
So all I want to say is tonight I have not mentioned my main army in 40k. It's you two that have brought it up continuously.
You don't even know what your main army is anymore.
Oh, I do. So, guys, thank you.
Stompy Templar.
Wankers. Guys, thank you for coming on and having a chat. We'll do another one of these because we'll do a series on this and sort of try and make crapper armies more competitive in our own minds. And
we do guard next because I need to try and find a way of winning with them.
With who?
With guard. Yeah,
we could do guard. That's no problem. We'll have a chat about that at some point as well. So, guys, thank you for listening in to a competitive Atlas Tabletop podcast. We will bring out more of these, and I will bring these 2 lovely chaps along as well, because probably by now you've realised they actually know what they're on about, and I don't. Which is really, really good. And
Vipers.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, and please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.